spent the night in Orange, set up there, drove over to Lake Charles, or set up everything, drove over to Lake Charles just to drive around, just to see everything. Ended up at in the parking lot of Enterprise Church of Christ and saw somebody with a pit there cooking. We weren't there hungry. We just went over to see if we could help, and we were the three of us that were on this trip. We made the largest amount of gumbo I've ever made in my life. I love gumbo, and I didn't want gumbo for a while after that. I'll just tell you, because I mean it was, when you see them with the paddles, stirring, we needed more than that, kind of thing. It was we needed an oar. We needed something, but no, and then just mixing together meals, and then it was, and we found out that nobody set up there was actually from the church. It was somebody from somewhere else, because as usually as those case goes, the locals are getting help that they need, and so disaster relief was getting set up there. They weren't fully set up. We just found a group of retired police officers that had a grill and was cooking. And so we did that, and then drove back over to Orange, spent the night there, and got up the next day, and disaster assistance, they all kind of started out together, but then broke off into different organizations, was serving over in Orange. And so we got up the next day and gave out meals there, and that was after coming back from Colorado earlier in the week, going to help with the homeless ministry that we partner with up there. And so those aren't usually how a week goes in that sense. It's just as availability and as, obviously funds are available for us to travel and to do all these things. We went to, about a year later, we were in Eastland, Texas, just east of Abilene, where they had some fires to the big country that came through there. We drove and took a cargo trailer full of donations there, and so we've done a few things like that, but more our day to day is a little different in that sense. So let's see. Hey, I figured out how to turn it on. Now we'll see if I figure out. This was an interesting day. My wife, Sarah, works for an organization called Love in the Name of Christ. She's a connections coordinator there, and people call in with needs for whatever it may be, and different things. And so with that, as the connections coordinator, she connects with different resources, different agencies around there, which different churches is the goal, to kind of help to empower the churches to disciple, all those things. And sometimes my organization is called, we don't always tell them when they do that we're husband and wife, kind of deal. But this was a day that a call was made by an individual who had 3 pieces of furniture needed to move and a couple bags of clothes. Well, as you see, that's a little bit more than 3 pieces of furniture and a couple bags of clothes. That's a 6 by 12 utility trailer. That is, I don't know how we made it across town with everything there, because I didn't bring any of my tie downs. I didn't even bring my dollies that day. And so, because it was 3 pieces of furniture and a couple bags of clothes, I backed up all the way to his door, all this stuff. And what you don't see is my back seat is full of my truck as well. And so, not a big truck, but, I drove about 25 miles an hour all the way across Lufkin with my hazards on and just prayed that things made it. When we showed up to the destination, one thing was hanging over the side, and we're like, it made it. But we got started about 10:30, and I say we because, as you remember, 3 items of furniture and a couple bags of clothes. I didn't get anybody to come help me that day, and so about 1:45 I got home on a day that it was, East Texas, the feels like is much higher than the actual number. And so even that is not a usual occurrence of things that we do. This is more of my usual occurrence. These are areas that I head into. As you see, so there, the top pictures are, if you remember the weather that we had come through back in May, that's a path that used to be clear. They even put a little carpet down there that, as you can see, and so that kind of walks back towards their tent. When those storms came in, that covered all that path, and so now, like say one of my videos, I'm walking through the trees. But these are areas that I'm headed to. Things that you can see, the tent a little closer there in the top left, and kind of more of the issue where we get there. This is some pictures of some other tents in that area, and these are where our people stay. It's where they live. I tell people I don't tell them all the locations of where they are for obvious reasons, because some have the best of intentions and some have the worst of intentions for knowing where people stay. But we'll tell you this: I have mixed responses from people in the community about what I do. I have some people that are thankful and some people that blame me for the homeless problem. I'm like, really? And their reasoning is if I didn't feed them and I didn't visit them, they'd go away. And so, and which I then asked them, what's your ultimate goal? So them to go away, or for them to be blessed as you were blessed. And then it's well, yeah. And I'm like, no. You told me your ultimate goal to begin with, right? And even to a degree, I get it, right? I get it because some of these areas are now areas where they were trails that people walked and they don't feel safe to walk them anymore, or they're, so I get that side of it, but my response to that always is, okay, if not this, then what's your plan? What's your plan to address it? Scripture says we'll always have the poor among us, right? Ultimately, the goal, I tell people, and they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Ultimately, the goal is for organizations like mine to no longer be needed, right? That's the ultimate goal, but reality says you will always have the poor among you, right? And so, I'll say this again during the lesson. Our mission for Lumberton Street Ministries is to know God and to make God known, right? And so everything we do has to do with that. So it's not just going into the woods. We have a local organization that provides us with all the sausage I'll need. Local distributor, and I'll get boxes of sausage. Like probably sometimes I'll get 8 boxes, sometimes I'll get even more. And he says, when you run out, just come back, because one of the things that I take with me is sausage wraps. I take sausage wraps and bottles of water and drop those off. I also take with me, you may have seen or heard of these before, but the humanitarian daily rations, because I have some that, especially this time of year, they go to cooling centers, or they'll go to different places to not stay out in the elements throughout the day, but I know they're coming back that night, and so I'll leave one of these, or a couple of these, depending on however many live there, and some bottles of water, so that when they come back that night, they'll have something. I'll come back the next day, these will be gone, or those will be opened, there'll be less bottles of water full, all those things, and so try to take care of them that way. We also I had 2 pallets of those donated to us by the local Salvation Army. Then I had 2 pallets donated of MREs. Now some people, they hear it and they're like, oh no, I never want another MRE in my life. Right? they may not be what you would sit down at a restaurant to eat, but they're fulfilling, right? The daily rations, you literally just open it and it's all good to go. It's different things like Pop-Tarts, and, crackers and peanut butter spread, just different things like that. The MREs, there's you put them inside, if you don't know anything about them, but you put them inside a bag and you put water in there, and it's a heating bag and it cooks the food. Right? It's what our soldiers ate for years and probably still eat, and then most soldiers I talk to no. I never want those again. And some of our people that we help are veterans, and I showed them that, they're like, they'll either say Army food or prison food. And it's like, all right, and so I learned a lot about them in that moment, right? So I know kind of exactly where they're coming from. We also, one of the things that we do once a month, unless we have just kind of some other things going on, there's an organization in town called Blessing Bags for NAC, stands for Nacogdoches and Angelina Counties. Stephanie Hess leads that, and we do a monthly outreach together that we call Street Blessings, where we combine our names together. And we set up at a local park and have a meal where we'll feed anywhere from, we've had times of as little as 200 and as much as 500 meals that we'll give out on that one Saturday. We also, you'll see in a few pictures, you can kind of see in the background of, I guess the one on the bottom left, but there's a truck there, that trailer that was loaded down with some other things is also one that we use to give out hygiene and donations for. I don't always just find our people in the woods. Sometimes they're in town. The one on the bottom left, I think I was headed to go pick up our daughter from work one night, and he was just standing out and kind of walking across a parking lot. Pull over because I usually will have things with me in my truck, like the hygiene bag is what you see him carrying. The guy on the top right was living. He had eventually, in this picture, he was able to find some work. He was staying in a family member's garage, and just trying to get some money to get a place. Talked to him a few months after that. He was able to finally get his own place, have this job. They were renovating an old business in town into the Piney Woods Academy High School or whatever. And so one of the old Lufkin Industry buildings that was being converted into that. The guy on the top left is about a block from our building. The train tracks there in the background. We're close on the North Lufkin side. We received, the two on the top, see holding these backpacks. There's an organization called CityPack, CITYPAK, and they make backpacks specifically for the homeless in mind. And it's through a partnership of like Samsonite and High Sierra brands. You would probably, that backpack itself, you'd probably pay about anywhere between $40 to $60 at a Cabela's or Academy, if not much more. Inside there, you lift up the deal, there's like a drawstring inside, there's an insulated part of it, there's an area to write, possession of. I mean, there's pockets galore in it. On the bottom, you can especially see with the guy with the hard hat, there's a spot to put their bedroll, and then inside there, Velcroed in, is a poncho that covers them and the backpack, big enough for that. It's so, you buy them by the boxfuls, the way they sell them. It's not like Amazon that you order them and you get them a couple days from now. You order them and could be a few weeks from now, kind of deal for they show up. They either come from Florida or Denver, kind of deal. It just depends which warehouse has them. And so they come in 6 to a box, and when you break down the shipping, everything, the 6 to the box, they come out to about $26 a backpack. And so it's obviously a great value for that. I have a guy that is actually, I stumbled upon knowing him from Beaumont. He just happened to be in Lufkin, came to a organizational meeting, a total God thing. He showed up to a homeless coalition meeting that we have. He showed up a day early, or he showed up a few hours earlier maybe, and where we were supposed to be somewhere else, he was coming by to, he was going to speak with, that's right, he came a day earlier because he was going to speak with the previous executive director of Love in the Name of Christ, a guy named Stephen, and he was just in town, and so he was like, he went down there and heard that y'all were down here at City Hall having this meeting, and just brought these backpacks with him and gave us some, and they ended up giving me like 3 of them, give them out, and then every once in a while he'll call me and say, hey, what do you need? I'm like, I need backpacks. And so he'll like, I'm gonna sneak out a couple of boxes. So he'll bring me backpacks and socks or whatever. And so the Bomba socks, where you can order those, and they do really well to make donations. I usually have a few thousand pairs of those on hand at all times. But the different things that we have, so when you think about it, especially the guy at the bottom right, that we'd given him a backpack as well. All the things that we have, even in the bags, all those things, 100% donations. Even to the Ziploc bags that we hold the things in, is that things that are donated, things that are through either through financial donations or item donations. We've kind of lost our connection, very devastated by this, with an organization called iServe 365, who partnered with an organization that received, they were still good, but they were no longer shelfable items from like Procter & Gamble. So we would get trailers full of soap, shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste, and toothbrushes. She had a warehouse that was gifted to her in this organization, Matthew 25 Ministries, that actually if you have a warehouse and you have a forklift, they'll bring you an 18-wheeler truckload, and you kind of set up through the process, and you will get all those donations. They were doing it for free before. Then she began the process, the people that were gifting her the warehouse looking to sell it, and then now Matthew 25, just because of the cost of everything, they had to start charging for things. And so, but you can become a local distributor of this organization, and they, you know, so when we lost that, we started venturing to the Amazon wish list of things. So, and it's back. But anyway, so these are some more folks that we've helped along the way. The one sitting there with the big haul of items, it looks like, is one of the first people that we met, and took probably about 6-7 months to build trust, and just would, you know, and that's with a lot of our folks of, you know, are you just coming just to make yourself feel good and do this once, or are you going to be consistent? Are you going to do this for a while? The guy in the top in the middle, again, just kind of had me walking by our building, and that's inside one of our rooms. The two on the bottom, just some more of our hygiene bags that we give out. Now, I will say, you see the guy holding the sign right there. In September of, I think it was 22, so I think it was last year, it actually became a finable offense in the state of Texas to hold up a sign saying, I need help. It's a $250 fine that they don't have to enforce it. I would tell you, down in Beaumont, they started running test runs of getting ready to enforce it. And so when you see a lot of people, especially under interstates, under overpasses and stuff like that, there's a reason for that, because local has no power over that. They will stay there because that's more government, and so local governing authorities, now they can say you need to leave and stuff like that, and okay, they can listen to it or not. And what they'll do a lot of times is they'll say, hey, come over here, let me talk to you. And so once the moment they walk out of that space, then they can enforce the rules. And what happens is, is issued for their arrest. And then, when they can't pay that and all those other kind of things, then when you get arrested, all your things stay there. And so when I talk to a local governing authority, I said, if the goal is to clean things up and you arrest someone and leave their trash there where they are, how are we accomplishing that? And so I get because they're elected on a certain platform and doing certain things and trying to do things. And so it's that goal of working together. The lady, and I don't tell the names of our people all the time, but the lady on the top left, that's Miss Sheila. I met Sheila she was under an awning at the old Kmart in Lufkin. So maybe that'll tell how long ago that building's been empty. But it was empty long before we moved there. And it was, so it's been empty for a while. And that's where she was sitting at that time. And she saw that I had my reading glasses there on my shirt and asked if I could give her some glasses. And so, because I was okay with the fact that my granddad gave me his reading glasses, makes you feel really good, but gave me his, and so I had a bunch in my glove box. I gave her my reading glasses, and she pulled out her Bible and started reading her Bible, and that she hadn't seen in a while because she hadn't been able to read it. Tell people that story to say, I don't know how much longer she read it after that, but in that moment she read something that maybe she hadn't seen for a while. I also tell her name because that was in 2020, and some point about a year and a half later, I hadn't seen her for a while. And I never know about our people when I don't see them. Did they move on to some other town? They move into some other spot? All these kind of things. And then I came to find out that as we have a place, it's a rent by night motel that is known for what you think it's known for. It's a regular stop for a lot of people that go to it. We go and we'll feed there every once in a while as well, and try to connect with people and all those things. They found her passed away in one of those rooms, and it's. I tell that story because many times she would borrow my phone to call family and just trying to connect with them. And I think about somebody that just had nobody, right? And we think about when it comes to end of life things, and all those stages, all those steps that are taken, the efforts that we go through, all those things, and as many times some end up in is what we know as a pauper's grave, and that just no one is there for them. And so I decided after that moment that we need to do something, that something needs to be done. I don't know what it is, but something needs to be done. And so I tell people, I'm like, if you hear of anyone in that case, let me know. We'll put on a funeral. We'll do something. We'll do something for them to provide something for them, because everybody deserves that. No matter how difficult of a life they lived, whether we agreed with their life or not, they deserve something. They deserve someone to pray over them in the end, whatever it may be, And so we set out to do that. The guy at the bottom left with the service dog, I always share this picture because he's one of ours that we don't know about. He's always, I'm here. I'm headed to this town for this job. I'm headed to for that job. I'm just passing through. Sometimes he'll have a service dog. Sometimes he won't. All those things. And I tell our people, I say, listen, I don't need a story to help you. If you're in need, I'm going to help you, right? But I also am going to try to give you the resources that you need to take it to that next step. And so I try to partner with other organizations in town to reach out to them. And an adventure to do that, yes, that's me. I'm a mountain man. That's me in the bottom left, and the top is, that's the picture of the trailer that we do for, where we put our hygiene stuff on in tubs. But we had the news out of just kind of the local news affiliate came and said, we want to go with y'all into the woods. I was like, all right. You know, and so I'm like, okay, but you're going to have to let me go in first. Usually when people say, hey, we want to go into the woods with you, and I say, I appreciate that, but you don't. You know, and I say, don't take it wrong, I'm not going to take you with me. Because for some of them, it's, again, taken 6, 7, 8 months for some to build up that trust. And if I just come in with people they don't know, my wife, we had one that wanted to go with us one time, and they were like, you're walking awful fast. You know, and I don't usually walk fast to walk ahead of people, but Sarah pointed out, said, I think there's a reason he's walking fast, you know, and so I wanted to get up ahead to at the very least announce, hey, I've got somebody else with me, you know, all those things. Now, the one lady that I told you was one of the first ones, Sarah's gone into the woods with me as we went to go put we had to replace an awning on her tent one time, and so we went, so she's seen her before. I wasn't worried about that. Of course, we got to the spot and no one was there, that was fine, but the news wanted to follow us, and I kind of took them the long way to get into it. And again, I don't tell where those locations are, but I will tell you this: this is about 30 yards from a very heavily trafficked area in Lufkin, where people buy groceries, people go to a hardware store, automotive store. It's, I mean, literally, there's there's always the pathway for delivery trucks that drive around the side, and I mean, it's literally building pathway where they drive, steps up, and goes right into this area. And people ask me all the time, do we even have homeless in Lufkin? And when I climb back off the floor or off the ground, or when my mind stops exploding, I think, yes, we have them. They're there. And listen, I'll be honest with you. I've been in ministry for 26 years. 16 years did youth ministry, and then 10 of preaching ministry, and kind of blended in this ministry. There were things I didn't see years ago either. Right? So when you're looking purposefully, you're looking for something, you start to notice it, and so this is just a small little area, and that's not a tent, that's not even a tarp that you see. It's literally a piece of fabric that they attach to some trees to have some sort of coverage there. And a lot of people, they see that, and there's a lot of fear that comes into wanting to go into those areas and wanting to go do those things, and I get it. I'm just a little bit more comfortable in that environment. Now, I'll tell you, when I walk in, I announce myself. I don't come in with my hands in my pockets. I come in and I say, is anybody home? Because it's their home. It'd be weird to have somebody just walk into your house and say, hey, can I help you out? Is there anything I need? And so that's why I tell people, treat it like that you're walking into their home and doing all these things. And again, announce myself and let them know that I'm coming in, just so that they can see me, so they can see something, something's going on. Someone is there. We have different outreach events. I said we partner with other ministries. There on the bottom right, we had an event where Brothers Keeper Church was giving out free hot dogs. Called Out Christians was there giving out sunscreen, and then just some other, you see free stuff, just groups of people that we try to partner with, because we believe as I tell people, we're better together. And there's a lot of us that do some similar things. The reason I chose to go into encampments was because nobody was doing that. And that's the main reason that I do that we go to those spots, is because nobody was doing it. And so sometimes that's what my truck looks like, a truck bed full of different items that we give away. Those are the pictures of the MREs that what we have left. We'll make tubs of totes of hygiene bags, just different things that we give out, and we put a little card in there, a blessing for you from Lumberton Street Ministries, and just so people have that. You saw my truck out in the parking lot. I'm the only one in town that has the magnets on the side of my truck, and yes, my number is on the side of my truck. My truck is a rolling business card, and I will literally have people pull up to me at stop signs, and they're looking at me, and I'll see them doing this, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I'll get this phone call, and it says, "Okay, that's just I'm the person next to you. I'll call this number if I need help." I'm like, "Okay." And so I'll get the most random phone calls because of it. Sir doesn't always like it, but because of that, we'll have some people knock on our door at home. Specifically, a guy that's in town to everyone is known as Red. He once had red hair. He hadn't had red hair in a while, but he'll always be forever known as Red. And he is friends with a neighbor of ours and saw my truck one day, and so he'll come and ring our doorbell multiple times on a Saturday morning about 7 a.m. I don't know if I wasn't sure on the time you would remember, but yeah. So that's different things that we do. One of my favorite passages that I go to a lot, that even kids at our church camp that know me, that one of them specifically says he feels like I'm required to use it in every sermon. But I go to Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, about the idea of being living sacrifices. And what I tell people is the way that I am doesn't necessarily have to be the way that you are. You get that? I'm going to walk that out a little differently, but what Scripture says is we're all called to walk it out. We're all called to live those words to come to life, those things to be lived out on purpose. And so again, when I make the statement that our mission is to know God and to make God known, everything we do is in connection with that. Whether it's walking into an encampment, whether it's spending 3 hours loading up a trailer. I also have a cargo trailer, 6x12 cargo trailer right now that's loaded down with items, and I keep forgetting to tell you what all I have in there. But I have like lamps, end tables, shoes, socks, a king-size mattress set. I think it's a full-size mattress set. It's either full or twin. We'll look at it when we get back. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. And it loaded down with those things. And so we'll from time to time have people. We had somebody that we had helped that I then didn't see for a while. We have an organization in town called the Men's Field House, and then we have the Mosaic, and the Mosaic is the Christian Women's Job Corps, and the Field House is the Christian Men's Job Corps. And I was invited by the director of the Field House, who's a friend of mine. He was like, "Hey, you need to come to our graduation. You might recognize somebody, or something like that." And we go to it, and I did. A guy that we had helped and I hadn't seen for a while, that now graduated through this program, has a job, has a place, and we got him some furniture. And that at the time it was like his girlfriend, and then now they're married and has a job, has a place to live. And like I say, we got him some furniture. We had some things that we could give them. And we didn't intend to get into the rummage sale business. The rummage sale business got intended upon us. And so we have a room that I didn't show those pictures because it's too depressing. and it's full of dishes, household items, and everything that we had a few sales from, and we will again from time to time. But the problem is we keep getting donations to go towards that. And so what I did was I just said, okay, somebody's in need, and I call churches. If you have somebody who comes up there in need, they can come and get what they want. It's all 100% donation, so anything we receive from a sale is full profit, right? And so it was given to us to give to others or to sell to others. We had a house just down the street from our building where they were fostering kids or whatever. They were our biggest clients there for a little while because each of them had their own like Cash App card with their own spending amount, and they didn't have hardly anything. And so we cut them a lot of deals, and we're like, they said, we need a box for that. I said, well, you need some other things in that box, and whatever else you fit in that box, you fit in that box. I've already said what I'm going to charge you. And so just trying to bless others with that. And so there's things that we didn't intend to go into this route, but it all has to do with knowing God and making God known, and that idea of being that living sacrifice and serving others and living on purpose for purpose. So I know I talked the entire time, and so I will obviously be around this morning, and so if you have any questions and stuff like that, I don't know what the time frame is of things after this.
You have 2 minutes left for class.
2 minutes,
Yeah.
all right. I can answer everything in 2 minutes. Did anybody have any questions? Anything like?
I do. So,
Okay.
being around by like, I've already seen our homeless population. What do you see being the main reason that these people are homeless? Because there is work everywhere. There's help wanted signs everywhere.
Yes.
We can't find people. I mean, the new building, the chemical plants are like, like a vacuum cleaner taking all the available, laborers, and then it's leaving a void on the lower end, like we're
Right.
paying $30 for a person to sit there and watch a hole in the ground.
I'm gonna go work there.
Yeah, that's like now.
I'll commute.
I mean, just for a basic entry level position, they're paying huge wages, so then that leaves, the lower levels available. So
Right.
what do you see
Well,
as a reason?
the holdup for a lot of them is identification.
So how can you fix that?
If you don't have ID, that's.
So are they willing and able, and
I will
have to
tell
train
you-
them and get an ID for them?
I'll tell you the biggest thing, if you have this person in your back pocket that says, I will help you do this, because it can take 3 to 6 months just to get everything that you need. Because if you need one to get the other, and the other, and the other, right? And so most of them don't have a social security card, a birth certificate, state ID, driver's license, whatever. So the problem is you can't even begin that process. If you have someone who is a notary of public that says, Jason Hollinger is who he says that he is and was born on this date, all these kind of things that can, and notarize this, and you can go in and get your birth certificate, right? If that's the first step, well, then you can take your birth certificate and get your social security card. You can take your birth certificate, your social security card, and go get a state ID, or go get these things. And some of it is that, and some of it is the holdup of past mistakes, right? And so if they go to get that, those things are going to run. And we had one of our guys. He made some poor choices in his past. Some of it was there. He had paid the price for some of it, but he was riding through town one day, didn't have a light on his bicycle, right? He got a ticket for not having a light on his bicycle that he rode during the day. Couldn't pay that ticket. Spent the night in jail, got bailed out, couldn't pay that, all these things. Before all was said and done, he had about 10 or 11 warrants for his arrest. And then they ran some of the things in his past and piled it all together, and he's spent a year in prison. Okay, well, he was the boyfriend of the one that we went and put the tarp on and kind of watched her the entire time. His bike stayed in our garage for a year. I was there when he was arrested. So there's some of that, some of those things. For most of them, tell people drugs and alcohol is not what led them to the streets. Drugs and alcohol is what they went to when they went on the streets to cope with life on the streets. There's some mental issues there. Got a guy who tells me about traveling from planet to planet. That's there, and it's sometimes being honest, sometimes you kind of have to smile and laugh about it to cope with some of the conversations. And so those are the people that we're trying to help. And when you don't have a residence, when you don't have a bank account, we had a guy that I helped him get on Social Security, set up a checking account, gave him some money to start it. He now the other day donated $140 for the ministry. But factors that weren't there when they went on the street prevent them from being able to do some things. Some will allow them the opportunity for some jobs to pay under the table, just to pay cash, to do some odd jobs. Because what you'll find is a lot of them, they're trained in a lot of things, right? Because they've had to do a lot of things to make ends meet. But the biggest holdup is no identification. And if you can get somebody that says, like some legal aids are golden with that. We had one that said they would help us out. I have been able to connect with them since they said they would help us out. Very frustrating because we had a guy that lost his wallet walking through CVS one day that stays at a local shelter. And he's from Atlanta, or from somewhere in Georgia. And I think it's just kind of outside of Atlanta. And he called Love in the Name of Christ. And so I sought out, tried to make my connection strong. And it's been months, and we